What's up, everyone? Been a little while since I did a live. I'm sitting outside of a construction model home by MI Homes, and my clients are going to show up here quickly. They're in from out of town, and we're going to talk about some floor plans here in this area. We're in Westchester, Ohio. But I had a few minutes, so I thought I'd jump on here. Haven't done a live in a while. Haven't talked about the Bengals in a while. I kind of stopped talking about the Bengals on YouTube because it seemed like YouTube didn't really like it. It was more of just a place for me to kind of be excited and maybe have some self-therapy sessions. But I am excited about 2023, and I am excited about the Bengals. But let's talk about the real estate market. If you have a question, go ahead and pop in for anyone who's watching and you want some questions answered about what's happening. But I find myself having this conversation with a lot of clients on a daily basis about what the market is looking like. So I figured let's just do it live and record it. So here's where we're at. 2021, hot real estate market. You had to do a lot of escalation clauses and appraisal gaps and waiving inspections to buy a house and bidding over list price. 2022, hotter real estate market. All those things except to a greater level. But towards the end of the buying season, heading into fall and summer, interest rates went way up. And so the Fed, trying to get its grasp on inflation, it was slowing down, how much you could borrow, or essentially the cost to borrow money. And so a lot of buyers kind of like pumped the brakes on when interest rates went up so much. So what we did see at the end of last, fall and into the winter was a slowing down of the market. Now, not a reversal of the market. We saw a slowing down of the market. We saw if homes weren't in great condition and priced excellently, then we saw that the days on market was creeping up into fall and into the winter. And so into the winter, a lot of people were questioning what's going to happen in 2023. You started seeing a lot of headlines nationally about home sales being less and markets going down. And that, while that is true, I think in a lot of markets nationwide, we're not seeing a lot of that here in Cincinnati. From our we're kind of early into that spring buying season. We're getting more into the middle of it now, but we're still kind of on the front end. And for instance, I had some clients who are looking in Mason, which is a very popular destination here in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's a beautifully developed community. The schools are top rated. So a lot of people who are moving from out of town to Cincinnati, they want to be in Mason, Ohio. Well, we went and toured a few houses virtually. Actually, their parents came down and we looked at a house, and it was listed around $600,000. And so I pulled the comps in the neighborhood, and going back 6 months, back into the end of last summer and into the fall, I saw several comps where the sale price was actually lower than the list price. And I was shocked. I was like, whoa, man, like this price point in Mason, which is $600,000, it might sound like a little or a lot to you, depends on, your financial situation. But to be in a top rated, and those weren't like the newest homes. These were homes built in kind of like the late 90s, early 2000s. But roughly 2,700 square feet, 2,800, something like that, with a finished basement. Very desirable house. And I was surprised to see that they had sat on the market for a little bit, some of the sales, and had went under. So our first offer for a house that they liked in a cul-de-sac, like really nice house, I said, let's go just a little bit over list price and see what happens. And turns out there were many buyers who were interested in that property, and we lost out on that one. I was like, it's okay. You don't want to overpay. And then we go into a second offer, something very similar, and it goes into multiple offers quick, and kind of same thing. It got bid up a little bit more. So I'm like, okay, the market's a little hotter than what most national news stories are maybe telling you, or at least it is here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Again, you still got a lot of buyer demand, and you still got very low housing inventory. And so I talk about this on the channel a lot. What does that mean for you as a potential buyer or as a seller? Well, if you're a seller, good news for you again. I mean, we're still in a very low inventory situation. And while interest rates have gone up, you still have buyer demand. We tend to see a lot of that buyer demand right now. It might be even stronger. Is kind of what I'm telling my buyers right now. some of the people who get out early can tend to be the most aggressive when it comes to their offers earlier in the season. As more inventory hits the market, even though we're still in that suppressed low inventory situation, you see more houses come out in April, May, June. And so the bids might not be as aggressive because the people who are most aggressive, who need to get in a house right now, come out usually early. They've been waiting all inventory and they're ready to pounce. And so our latest offer on another house in Mason, Ohio, we made a really strong offer, really strong offer over ask price. We did something with the inspections where we said, we're not going to ask for you, Mr. Seller, to make any repairs unless any individual item costs more than $1,500 to fix. So all the minor stuff, forget about it. We're not going to ask you about. Only if there's a major repair needed, something with the furnace or the roof or a major plumbing leak. So it still protected my buyers in terms of you still have the inspection contingency to back out if you need to. But this is appealing to the seller to say, we're not going to sweat the small stuff, and we're not going to quibble over, you know, anything around whatever that costs a couple $100 to fix. And we did an appraisal gap. So we bid over list price. And what an appraisal gap is, it says, hey, this house is listed at 600. Let's say we're bidding up to 630. Let's say it only appraises for 615, for example. Well, Mr. Seller, we're going to cover the difference. My buyers are going to cover the difference of that 15K, because the bank is only going to give you a loan up to that 615. That's what the appraisal says. The appraiser is a third party who's coming in, and their job is to protect the bank on, hey, that's what this house is worth. That's what the comps are saying. That's what the information from these offers are saying. And so we're going to only lend up to that amount. Well, we're telling the seller with an appraisal gap clause that says, if it doesn't go up to the amount we're willing to get under contract for in this house, we'll cover the difference. Usually, if you don't have that in there, you're negotiating with the seller and you're saying, hey, why don't you guys come down? We'll come up a little bit and pay some of the difference, and you meet in the middle, something like that. An appraisal gap is very appealing to a seller because it says, great, we can get the highest price, and if it doesn't appraise, we're going to cover the difference. And we did an escalation clause. So an escalation clause, again, I'm telling you buyers this because it feels like market-wise, we're going to be needing to do these again. Very sorry to say that inventory is still down. And even though interest rates are higher than they were a year ago, from a competitive standpoint, at least what I'm seeing early on in this spring buying season is it's going to be multiple offers again. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be, you've got to be competitive. It may not be as crazy as it was last year in terms of the amount of offers, but if you need to get a house and if you want to win, you still need to be aggressive. So we're talking about, you know, waiving inspections, or at least saying waiving repairs under a certain amount, appraisal gaps, offering over list price. Now, a tool that we've used for the last few years to help buyers win, to help our clients win, is an escalation addendum or an escalation clause. And what that says is, hey, so if it's a $600,000 house, say we'll bid at 600. And then we'll do an escalation up to 615, 620, 630, whatever price, how aggressive you want to get and where it's comfortable for you to pay. And it says, we'll beat any other written net offer, Mr. Seller, that you have in hand by $2,000, something like that. So it only kicks in if that other offer exists. So the reason why you do that is you don't bid up against yourself unnecessarily. But if you really want the house, you say, we'll beat any other offer up to the top of our escalation. So let's say in that scenario, you'll escalate up to 630 and another offer comes in at 615 and you said you'd beat it by $2,000. Well, your offer just automatically kicked into 617 because you said you'd beat any other offer by $2,000. And so now the seller's like, great, you know, I've got a better offer. You know, you're protecting me on the inspections. Maybe you're doing the appraisal gap as well. Great offer. Got a strong pre-approval letter. People ask me a lot of times about personal letters. Do they help? And I say they don't hurt. So if you're also thinking about buying in the Cincinnati area and you're using us, go ahead and get that letter ready. Maybe make a generic letter about ABC house that says this would be perfect for our family. And I always say the sappier the better. Yeah, like the whole point of making a personal letter is to kind of pull on heartstrings and say, so give me a awesome, the most cute picture of your kids as possible. Oh, my clients are here, so I'm going to bump in just a minute. Put a picture of your cute kids, put a sad story as to why you need to get the house, butter them up as to why this house would be perfect about it. It may not work, but I'm telling you, when I receive those letters and I pass them on to my sellers, they don't hurt. Okay, so if we're in a situation, which it seems like we are, again, where you need to compete against other buyers, which that's what we're looking at in the spring buying season here so far from what I'm seeing, go ahead and draft up your letter and get that. It just needs to be a couple paragraphs, you know, and throw on. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. You just want to say, we love this house. Here's our family. We're moving here. You know, whatever your story is. But your aim is to pull at those heartstrings, right? So, because I have seen it, I have seen it multiple times where the heartstring emotional letter, even though your terms may have been less, maybe your dollar amount wasn't amount, and so forth, you win because people are like, oh, I'd love to sell it to this family rather to whatever the reason is. Cold-hearted investor, I don't know, but they can win. So that's what we're seeing in the market. Where was I going? That escalation clause. It's basically like if you ever been on eBay and used the max bid feature. I don't know. I think they still have that feature. It says, yeah, I'll bid at this price now, and I'm willing to go up to that price, but it only kicks in if it's needed. So some sellers will say, we don't want any escalation offers, and because they want you to bid against yourself without knowing how high the other offers are. And that's a smart play. If they have a smart listing agent, they'll say that, and you can kind of abide by that or not. It's up to you. But that's a tactic from the listing side to try to get the most out of you because you don't know how high you're going to go. If they don't say that, I'm always going to maybe not always. Oftentimes, if we're in a multiple offer situation, I'm going to recommend that you use an escalation clause. The other thing I like to do personally, and this depends. But if the listing agent has put on either the marketing remarks or the agent remarks that they're reviewing offers, let's say the house comes on the market either Thursday or Friday, and that's what generally happens because they're trying to get the most activity on the weekend, and that's when most people get out to see houses is on the weekend. So if they do that and say we're going to be reviewing offers at 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon or 6 p.m. and we'll leave them open until Monday at noon because that's when they'll pick, something like that. The other thing I try to do is it doesn't always help you to be the first one there. And even though houses sell fast, and we just did a video on this channel about houses selling fast, just because you're first one there and get an offer in doesn't mean you're going to win. In fact, it often can hurt you because I do this as a listing agent. So when I have an offer in hand and then somebody else comes in and says, do you have offers? I say, yes. Well, where are your offers at? Would this amount be good? And I say, well, that would be good, but you might need to get up into this range. So I use the early offers as leverage to get more for my sellers. Okay, so think about it in those terms. If you're a listing agent trying to do the best for your seller to get them the most money, you use offers and you say, hey, well, these people waived inspections. Are you willing to waive inspections? And so it doesn't always help to be first unless you choose an offer early. I'm losing. Sorry. No, I don't want to stop streaming. I'm almost done here. My GPS is coming on. So sometimes what I like to do is if you are interested in that property, maybe wait until a little bit later before we write or present the offer if they've given us a time for when they're reviewing. That way I can make that call and kind of say, how many offers do you have? Where are you at? And then I ask the question, what would it take for us to win? Now, agents have no obligation to share that information. In fact, there is in the Consumer Guide to Agency, which is a document you have to sign to work with an agent, we're kind of bound by this ethic to only share information that you as a seller want us to share. And so, but as a listing agent, I'll run it by my seller, but I say, hey, are you good telling them that we have X amount so that we can try to get Y amount, which is higher? So as a buyer side, I kind of do that, even though that might mean you might pay a little bit more. it also might mean you have a better chance to win. Otherwise, you're just going through the exercise to lose, and you're getting your hopes up about a house that some other offer is going to beat you out on, which is just not fun. And so it's always good for us to have the conversation of like, hey, is this a house where you're like, if we get it, great. If not, no big deal. Or are you saying we want to win? Because it's a very different negotiation strategy, right? Of like how we approach, how we craft the offer, how we talk to the other agent. And I would say what that matters is, I need to get in there to my clients. So I'm going to wrap this up. Have that conversation. A big component of that is how long has it been on the market? If it's just hit the market and it's in multiple offers, right now in this market, from what we're seeing early on, is you probably need to be more aggressive to win. If it's made it through a weekend and it's not pending yet, then you have the opportunity to be less aggressive, probably. You still got to figure out if there are other offers in hand, but more than likely people passed on it for some reason, because what we're seeing right now in the market, that even though rates are up and even though house prices are up, sales might be down, and you might read headlines that overall sales are down in units. But the reason why is because there's no inventory. There's no houses to sell. So don't get tricked between the difference of, housing sales are down versus housing prices are going up. And so because it's supply and demand, people. Sztanyo, it's supply and demand. When there's low supply and high demand, prices are still going to go up. So that's an update on the market. I got to hop into this meeting with my buyers and see if we buy this new construction home. New construction, totally different ballpark, totally different video. You're not competing against the other buyers. We can talk about that at another time. So thanks guys for watching. Hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you later.